Hello, friends. In this lesson, we're going to look at some American idioms and expressions that come from the idea that darkness or blindness is like ignorance or confusion. In the last video, we looked at some idioms and expressions that come from the idea or metaphor that knowledge is light. And in that video, I talked about the idea that we normally learn or understand something by seeing. And so in the first video, we looked at some idioms and expressions that go along with the idea that seeing equals understanding or knowing. So in this video, we're going to look at the opposite expressions, the ones that come from the idea that ignorance is caused by darkness or not being able to see something. So the first expression here is just the verb not to see, like I don't see your point. So if seeing equals understanding, then not seeing equals not understanding. So we can say I don't see your point, or I don't see what you mean, or I don't see what you're getting at, or I don't see what you're saying. So you can just use this expression I don't see, meaning I don't understand or I don't know. Then we have the adjective to be blind. So to say that somebody's blind obviously means that they can't see anything. So here, blind doesn't mean you're literally blind. You can still see with your eyes. It just means that you don't notice something or realize something. For example, if somebody says you're blind, they might just mean that you're not seeing some kind of information or you don't understand something. We also in English in America say that love is blind, meaning when you love somebody, like when a man loves a woman or a woman loves a man, that we usually don't see the bad things in their personality or their behavior. So we say love is blind because we just don't see the bad things. We only see the good things. Or we even say that justice is blind, and that's what can be seen in this picture here. So in this picture, this is supposed to be Lady Justice. And in the United States, we say justice is blind because if you go to court, if you're trying to get justice, the judge shouldn't be looking at the color of your skin. They shouldn't be looking at how much money you have or whether you look like a nice person or not. They're supposed to just judge the case by the facts, by the evidence that's there. So they don't look at you physically, they look at you based on the evidence. So that's why we can say justice is blind. We can also turn a blind eye to something. So to turn a blind eye, you can see here in the picture, this guy's pretending not to see the homeless man over here. So he's turning a blind eye away from this because he doesn't want to acknowledge or show that he sees this man. So to turn a blind eye to something means to ignore something that you know is wrong or something that's uncomfortable or something you don't like. For example, when people turn a blind eye to small crimes, they usually lead to bigger crimes. So it's good to not turn a blind eye to something. We also have this expression to have blinders on or to be wearing blinders. So blinders are anything that makes your eyes so they can't see. They're blinding your eyes. So if you see in the picture here, this horse, he has these covers over his eyes so that he can't see the people around him. These are called blinders. And they do this for horses so that the horses don't get scared or nervous. But when we say that a person has blinders on, it means to be able only to see things one way or to be unwilling to consider other possibilities. So if somebody tells you that you have blinders on, they mean that there's information that you're not thinking about. For example, I know you really like that car, but don't buy it with blinders on, or you might miss seeing a big problem. So if you've ever purchased a car before, sometimes it's easy to just look at the outside of it and see how nice it looks. So it might look like a nice car on the outside or on the inside of the car, but if you're buying a car, you want to make sure to look at the engine, look underneath the car, check the tires, things like that. So to have blinders on would mean that you're ignoring or not looking at some information. We also have this saying, the blind leading the blind. So this means, or we use it to describe a situation where a person who knows nothing is getting advice and help from another person who knows almost nothing. So it's like one person is acting like a teacher to another person, but the person who's acting like the teacher doesn't know the information either. For example, there are a lot of people giving health advice on YouTube, but they aren't professionals and they aren't trained. So when people learn from them, it's like the blind leading the blind. So the blind leading the blind just means that one person who is ignorant or who doesn't know something is trying to teach somebody else. So being blind here means not knowing about something. We can also shut or close our eyes to something. So this is kind of like having blinders on or turning a blind eye. It means to ignore something because you don't want to know about it. For example, don't close your eyes to other people's problems, or they might become your problems someday. So to close your eyes or to shut your eyes to something, it doesn't actually mean to close your eyes. It just means to ignore something because you don't want to know about it. Like if you've ever been to a store or a restaurant and there's another family or another couple that's arguing or yelling, you pretend like you don't see it, right? You're closing your eyes to it. To be in the dark. This means to be not informed about things that might be useful to know. For example, please tell me what's going on. I don't like to be in the dark. So if somebody says that they are in the dark or being kept in the dark, it means that they don't have all of the information that they want or need. Like somebody has the information, but they're not giving them this information. So being in the dark, darkness here again means ignorance, not knowing something. You can also keep somebody in the dark. So if we say that you are in the dark, that means somebody is keeping information away from you or not telling you something. But to keep someone in the dark means you are the one who has the information, but you're not sharing that information with somebody. So it means to keep someone uninformed about something. For example, Apple, the computer company, the iPhone company, usually keeps everyone in the dark about what the next iPhone will be like. So if you ever pay attention to Apple, whenever they're going to release a new product, like an iPhone or a computer, they usually try to hide as much information as possible so that nobody knows exactly what it's going to be like before they release the information, before they show the information. So they like to keep people in the dark. We also have this time period called the Dark Ages. So in the last lesson, where light equals knowledge, we talked about a time period called the Enlightenment, and that's when science and learning became very popular in the scientific method. So there is another period called the Dark Ages, and this is the period in European history from about 476 AD to about 1000. It was a period or stage marked by repressiveness, a lack of enlightenment, or advanced knowledge. So basically, this is the time period, it's a little bit before the Enlightenment. We call it the Dark Ages, ages meaning a time period. We call it that for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that we don't have a lot of information about this time, so we are in the dark about it because a lot of people didn't know how to write, and so we don't have a lot of written records or material coming from this time. So it's dark to us because we don't have a lot of information about it. We also call it the Dark Ages because this is the time before science became really well known or popular. And so there were a lot of strange beliefs and practices that people had. To say that somebody is in the shadows, it means where someone or something cannot be seen or known, or it can also just mean to be hiding. So if you look here at this picture, we can't see this person's face because this person is in a shadow. A shadow is just like a dark place where there's no light. So we use this a lot for people that are hiding from the police or from the government or from the media, from the public. We say they're in the shadows. For example, because they are afraid of being arrested and deported, millions of illegal immigrants are living in the shadows in the United States. So we say they're in the shadows because they're hiding from the authorities. They don't want to be caught. So if you're in the shadows, but then you come out, we say you come out of the shadows, which means to come to be seen or known, to come out of hiding. So if somebody comes out of hiding, we say they come out of the shadows. So you can see here, it looks like she was in the shadows here, and then she stepped into the light. So it's a little bit bright for her, but she came out of the shadows. For example, sometimes lawyers have a hard time getting witnesses to come out of the shadows and testify in court because the witnesses are afraid of getting hurt. So let's say, for example, somebody committed a murder. Somebody killed somebody else. Now, there might be people who saw it happen, who saw the murder, but because they are afraid, they might be hiding because they don't want to be hurt or murdered themselves. So they are in the shadows. But the police need information about the killer, and so they try to find out if anybody saw the killing or the murder. And when they find those people, if those people are willing to tell the police or the court what they know, then we say they come out of the shadows. So in the shadows means they're hiding. Out of the shadows means that they are in a place where they can give information. And then we have this interesting adjective called shady, right? So an adjective is a word that describes a noun. So we use the word shady to describe actions or a person who seems to be dishonest or illegal. So I've got two pictures here. We can see these trees. This area, we call it a shady area because you see all the darkness here. These trees are shading this area. It's making it kind of dark, so there's not a lot of light in here. So we call this area a shady area. Now we take this idea of blocking the light and we use it to describe people sometimes when it seems like they are maybe not trustworthy, like they're hiding information from us. We say they're shady. For example, I would not buy any electronics from that guy because he's kind of shady and I don't know where he gets them from. So we use this usually with people who are trying to sell us something and we don't trust them. It's like maybe he's trying to sell us a car, or maybe he's trying to sell us a phone or a computer. And you look at this guy and you're like, I don't trust that guy. I feel like he's not being honest, like he's trying to hide something. So we would call him shady. Just like these trees are blocking the light, this guy is like blocking the truth or information. Another expression here is to cloud something, to cloud judgment, to cloud memory, to cloud thinking. Because, you know, if you look at the sky, you see the clouds block the sunlight, right? So if light equals knowledge or information, then a cloud is blocking that light or information. It's not blocking it completely, but just a little bit. So this expression, to cloud judgment or to cloud memory or to cloud thinking, it means to make it difficult to understand or remember something clearly. For example, one of the side effects of smoking marijuana is that it clouds your ability to think and remember things clearly. Another example is if you're just really tired. Let's say you didn't sleep very well last night. You got a really bad night of sleep. When you wake up in the morning, it's very difficult to think sometimes. Like you can't think clearly. So we say that it's clouding your thinking or clouding your memory, like you just can't remember because being tired is making it difficult to think clearly. Also related to this is an expression called brain fog. So fog is kind of like a cloud, but it's on the ground. So brain fog means when you're having a hard time thinking clearly about something. So if you look at this woman here, it's like there's a cloud around her brain, so she can't think clearly. We call that brain fog. And then we have this expression, unclear. So this is just an adjective. It's another describing word. So if something is unclear, it just means it's difficult to understand or be sure about. So in the last video, if we say something is clear, that means that it's easy to understand. If we say it's unclear, that means it's difficult to understand. For example, I'm unclear about what we should be doing right now. So this is something that somebody might say in a class, like if the teacher gives you directions and you just don't understand the directions, you can say the directions are unclear. I don't understand them. And then there's this adjective, obscure. Obscure means not well known. So this word obscure, it means to block the light or block the ability to see. So you can't see something. So if we say that something is obscure, it's like some information is being blocked or not well known. For example, the meaning of that word is kind of obscure. So again, if something is unclear or not known, we can say that it's obscure. Then if we use this as a verb, to obscure something, it means to make something difficult to see, know, or understand. So if you look at this picture here, these people are trying to see inside of this building, and this guy is putting up these boards here to block them from seeing. So he is obscuring their view or their vision. So we can say this when somebody is trying to block information or knowledge. For example, he tried to obscure the most important part of the discussion by talking about many unimportant and unrelated things. So if somebody is trying to confuse you, trying to hide something, we can say that they are obscuring it. And then related to this is a noun, obscurity. So obscurity is the state in which somebody or something is not well known or has been forgotten. For example, while some authors become very famous, many work their whole lives in obscurity. So we usually use this to describe people. So if somebody's not well known, then we can say they live in obscurity. And then we have another adjective, fuzzy. So fuzzy just means confused and not expressed clearly. So if you look at this picture here, we can kind of see that it's a picture of a road and there are some cars, but it's not a clear picture. It's a fuzzy picture. It's blurred. So if we say that something is fuzzy, we just mean that it's confused and not clear. For example, I'm sorry, I don't remember well. My memory is fuzzy. So a lot of the time we use this adjective with memory, trying to remember something. Because sometimes we don't remember things clearly. Our memories are fuzzy. It's like we remember a little bit, but not clearly. And then we have another adjective, murky. So murky means not clearly known, or we can use it to say that somebody is suspected of not being honest. So it's kind of like shady when we're describing somebody. But if we're not describing a person, it just means that something is not clearly known. So if you look at this picture here, this is water like in a lake, right? So we can see there's light, but we can't really see much in front of us here. We say this water is murky. So it's kind of like dirty, almost. Dirty water. It's something it's water you can't see clearly in. For example, the details are a little murky, or he had a somewhat murky past. It just means it's not clearly known or maybe not honest. And then similar to murky is this expression to muddy the waters. So mud is just wet dirt. Mud is wet dirt. So to muddy the waters, it's like throwing dirt into water. So you can see this glass of water here. It's not clear because somebody put dirt in there, right? So they muddied the waters. And this means to make something more difficult to understand. So if somebody is trying to make it difficult for you to understand something, we can say that they are muddying the waters. For example, when too many people give their opinions on something, it can muddy the waters and make it more difficult to make a decision. And then we have this other adjective, dim, or we can say that somebody's a dim bulb or a dimwit. So dim means a light that is not bright. It's not bright. So we use these expressions to mean a person who is not clever or intelligent, somebody who's not smart. So if we think about bright, in the last video we had the adjective bright, and if we say that somebody is bright, it means they're smart or intelligent. So this is the opposite of that. To say that somebody is dim means they are not clever, they're not smart, they're not intelligent. For example, I don't think I would trust his advice. He's a pretty dim bulb. So dim just means that they're not intelligent or smart. If we say a dim bulb, the bulb is this thing here. This is the bulb. It says light bulb. So a dim bulb just means a light that's not bright. Or a dim wit. Somebody's wit is like if they are clever or their intelligence, right? So a dim wit means that their intelligence is really dim. It's not bright. There's not a lot of it. So all three of these basically mean the same thing. You could say a dim person, a dim bulb, or a dim wit. This is not a kind thing to say. This is an unkind thing to say, by the way. And then we have this adjective, myopic. So myopic means unable to think about anything outside your own situation. So literally, the word myopic means it's like you're seeing only in a tunnel, right? So you can see here, it's like we're inside of this tunnel. So we can only see this part of what's outside, right? We can't see what's over here, and we can't see what's over here. We can only see this part here. That's what myopic means. It's you can only see a small part of what's in front of you. So we can use this to mean that somebody's not able to think about anything outside of their situation. For example, people who only live in big cities can sometimes be myopic to what life is like in the rest of the country. And similar to this is to say that somebody has tunnel vision. So myopic or tunnel vision, they basically mean the same thing. So the tunnel here, this is a tunnel. So a tunnel vision means the inability to see or understand all the aspects or parts of a situation, argument, etc. So it means you're only seeing one part of a situation, not everything else. For example, sometimes people who have big dreams can get tunnel vision and miss all of the other great opportunities and good things in life. And that's it for the expressions in this lesson. I hope they were helpful for you, and thanks for watching.